no money, that's an asshole. It wasn't a phase.
Welcome back to the Senior Citizen Podcast. Today we have an episode that I'm super excited for because since I saw these dudes back in O'Malley's in Margate, I think it was over a year ago at this point.
It was a year ago, yeah.
Funny enough, I almost missed you guys' set because I was like, I'm hungry, and I went to go get food, and then when I came back, you guys hadn't started yet, but I was like, oh, I think I missed that band. Turns out I didn't.
A fun little thing about it was O'Malley's in. It was where's O'Malley's? Oh my God,
Margate. It was a Jer show.
Yep. There's a
Woolbright Rod.
Yep. There's a fun little story about that one, but
Ooh, I can't wait to hear it.
who knows?
Especially if it's tea.
It's tea.
Nothing. We're here with Gilt. If you guys have not put it together yet, I have to bring out the Care Bear t-shirt that says "Mind My Business," even though I'm not going to be minding my own business because I'm going to be asking a lot of questions. How you guys doing today?
Doing okay. We are up at like 8:39ish this morning, which was like kind of a rare thing for us. We usually kind of like if it's like, okay, we're on tour and we're leaving, like, okay, everyone's gotta leave at noon. I think everyone's up and moving at least by 11, but Allie's like up at like 6 in the morning all the time.
I am perpetually up.
Yeah. So
Allie has read 3 books by the time we get up for our continental breakfast.
I admire that.
It's,
I'm always like super productive in the mornings when I least expect it. I went to like a bachelorette thing in the St. Augustine, and we were all like messed up and hanging out till like 3 in the morning. At 8 in the morning, boom, woke up, no hangover, cleaned up the kitchen.
you just like you're like, I'm locked in.
Check out at 10, guys.
Checks out there's 10. I'm locked in, guys. We gotta. But yeah, it's been we've been doing well. So we all got up, and then we're here, and then very excited for this, and then also we have our set about like a few hours after this, so. Just vibing, straight vibes.
For sure. No, and I've seen you guys at Fest before, and you always kill it too. I'm super excited for Linkin Park set. By the time that this is aired and done, that Linkin Park set has happened. So I need the tea on the set list.
Okay, the set list.
It's all the good stuff.
It's some of the new stuff.
None of the new stuff.
We said the same thing.
Yeah. It's all. Ooh.
It got a little shady in here.
Yeah. Oh my God, where'd that come from?
I was 12 years old, and Hybrid Theory was my first CD I ever bought.
Okay.
I had to explain. CDs are these things that music used to come on before it was streamed. But yeah, so it's just Hybrid Theory and Meteora content.
My car still has a CD player, which I'm super proud of, because they don't come with them anymore.
Yeah.
And I have a bunch of mixtapes still burned from high school. I was even around during cassettes. Thank you very much. Like, I had like lullabies on cassettes at least.
Well, that's like looped back, right? So it's like bands will sell tapes and vinyl, but not CDs.
Right.
Which is a travesty.
But more bands are doing CDs now.
Yes.
Yeah.
As they should.
There's something nice about it. Just having the CD, the physical copy of things.
And like the booklet and everything, like, oh, just chef's kiss. But also, I was going to say we are, for the Linkin Park set list, it's a lot of Hybrid Theory and a lot of Meteora. And that's it.
Okay.
And nothing else.
Obviously, we can't tell people to watch it because it will have passed already. But how do you guys go about doing covers and still keeping that originality to it? Like, how do you make Linkin Park Gilt? Because we're not there to see Linkin Park. We're there to see Gilt doing Linkin Park, you know?
Right. I think a lot of it, I was even talking about last night, it feels like, especially for a band like Linkin Park, because of Chester's legacy and who Chester is, a lot of people hold that very like close to their heart, and for a good reason too. He meant a lot to a lot of people and his impact was huge, but a lot of people are very protective of that. And if you do a Linkin Park cover, they're like, God, you're disgracing Chester's legacy, or Chester, you're not better than him, like blah, blah, blah. So for me, a lot of that concern was like, I'm not trying to do that at all, ever. The only thing I really want to do is just honor the legacy that this band did, but while also being like, I not only have taken great influence from them, but I have tried to implement that into Gilt. So it's like kind of mixing my own influence with honor and just trying to do right by the band, but not trying to imitate to a T.
Yeah.
But I feel like for the rest of y'all, like everyone else has got their own like
Well, so like
feelings about.
we're all last year when we played Fest, we played the Woolly, which is like a bigger stage, like large sound system. This year is How Bizarre, which is a floor show. And when we were planning it all out, we were talking about like, are we gonna do the backtracks, all the electronic drum parts, all the weird synth stuff, and we reduced that because of the floor show situation to like Allie has replicated all of the electronic drums in an analog way by like augmenting her drum kit.
Wow.
And like Cameron is doing a lot of like, because Linkin Park's a one guitar band, but they have Mr. Han doing all the other stuff. So it's like Cameron's doing a lot of that stuff with guitar pedals. So it's closer to like a DIY show. And I think that'll be interesting to people who's like, it's a cover set. People are just playing karaoke in their heads. They're hearing the song, but it's like you get to watch us do it in a way that's like, unless you were watching Zero, before they were Linkin Park, you probably never saw them in like a small setting.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
I do want to say too that like we like booked this like a year ago.
Yeah,
we decided on doing this cover set like a year ago, and then like serendipitously like Linkin Park was like, oh, we're just gonna come out and drop a new record like a couple months before we're doing our set, and like that was a really interesting feeling because it's kind of like, was that a blessing or was it a curse at the same time? It's really hard seeing everybody's reaction to it, where it's just like, how do we look now in this situation doing this to people?
Right.
It's like we didn't do it because they were making a comeback. It just happened at the exact same time.
I think they probably made a comeback because of us.
Yeah. They were like, Gilt's playing Fest?
Yeah, we kind of have that power.
We have a history of that.
We have a very strong. A lot of people, like, we did the Deftones cover set last year, and a lot of people were like, so
Yeah.
is Deftones confirmed for Festa next year? Because when we did Thursday cover set,
Thursday came the
Yep.
following year.
Thursday,
Yeah.
it was in my line.
Right.
Hi, Jeff.
Jeff Rick take us on tour.
Yeah.
I could tell that a lot of work goes into a cover set. You're saying it was a year ago, like, holy crap. Because it's easy to get on not easy, but like, you're used to getting on a stage and playing your own music. But again, like, the impact that Linkin Park had in this podcast, I would say at least 25% of the people that have been on here, it's like, oh, so what got you into this kind of music, or what inspired you? Oh, Linkin Park Hybrid Theory. I had to look it up the other day. I was like, how old is this shit? Hold on.
Everyone is like,
because I don't remember it coming out. To me, it was just something that always existed.
Same.
And it's been, obviously, it's
before and
iconic.
after.
No, I don't.
I was also there for the before.
That was before 9/11.
It's like the markers in time.
Right.
It's like Linkin Park,
9/11.
9/11.
MCR is also in there.
MCR
Well, that's
somewhere, and then
because of
everything
9/11.
else.
Right. Yeah. It's all a chain reaction.
It is, yes.
And now you're adding to it. Linkin Park will probably play Fest next year. That,
Park.
I'm sure in some way Twilight is responsible for Asha, which means that 9/11 is responsible for MCR, was responsible for Twilight, was responsible for Gilt.
Which is crazy. We did a 9/11 cover set a couple of years back.
Oh my goodness. First of all, I felt so called out.
All right.
How did you guys get together? How did the band start? Before we say any more out of pocket shit.
Yes, let's.
Breathe.
All right, do you want like the real answer or
I want the real answer.
Tinder?
Okay.
Okay, so let me. Tyler.
I said I wanted the real answer, not a no context answer.
So
Because usually it's like, we're looking for the best musicians and we all loved each other.
the original member here, Tyler started Gilt.
Okay.
I believe Tyler started it back in 2017. I joined about a year after that. I joined in 2018, and I was 18, and I just moved down to Florida, and I was like, I'm not gonna go to college. I'm gonna like join a band or start a band. I'm gonna do music. And then I was on Tinder, and the bassist at the time, Nico, was looking for members for Gilt on Tinder, and I had like a picture of me drumming on my profile, and they're like, hello, hey, you wanna come try out for Gilt? And I was like, and I did, and that's how I joined the band. And the band has been through a lot of different iterations over the time. I think, I can't remember what number members we've had.
Between 10 and 15 members.
Yeah, just,
It was like 18.
Yeah, ask for
I think I calculated it one night because I wanted to know which one I was.
everybody's been a Gilt. Everybody's been a Gilt.
It's honestly, you just had Holy Ghost here, right?
Yeah.
That was Gilt's original bassist
Okay.
before we even played shows.
Got you.
So Gilt's kind of gone through a lot of different phases, but yeah, Tyler started the band, and the band used to be kind of like this like emo rock.
Yeah.
Very like, especially with the first album that Gilt came out with, Ignore What's Missing, where Tyler was doing vocals, I was on drums. At the time, Nico was doing bass and Tilly was doing guitar. It's very like kind of like stadium radio rock.
Yeah, it was like bad 30 Seconds to Mars.
Yeah, I was trying to like really, I was like here like lifting it up, and Tyler was like, yeah,
listen.
yeah, you're right.
You're trying to sugarcoat it, present it all pretty.
Yeah.
It's like, we sucked.
If I had my own cult one day, I'd be like, good job.
Yeah, it's 30 seconds to Mars for you. But as you know, especially when I used to be the drummer, and we went on a tour. Gilt used to go on like these massive giant tours, like just going everywhere, just get in the band and go. And I was the drummer, and I tore a ligament in my shoulder, and that like took me out drumming for a few days on the tour. And I was like, it stressed me out so bad. I was so upset beyond belief, because I was like, I don't feel like I'm participating anymore. I can't do anything. And then Tyler was like, all right, well, I'll play drums
And do vocals.
And like, you just rest up. And I was like, still like, I just want to do something, like, let me contribute. And then Tyler was like, all right, you can do vocals. How about that? Like, will that like,
I remember you laying on that couch in Texas, like writhing in pain with the microphone.
yeah. And I was like, I gotta give it a try. And then after that, it was kind of like, oh, well, you like to do vocals, don't you? And I was like,
Oh, I don't care if you liked it. People came up to me, and by people I mean my band members, and they were like, "Hey, just so you know, Asha's better than you." And I was like, "All right, well." So
I love how brutally honest like these Gainesville interviews have been, because it's just another one. The person who formed the band sat here and said, "I'm the weakest link," and I'm like,
yeah.
"You're
No,
like,
so-
oh, you're the person behind this."
This is my favorite thing about current formation Gilt, which is hopefully like final formation. Like
Right.
I am finally the absolutely worst musician in the band.
Okay.
Like everybody here is better than me at their given part, and that's what I always wanted.
That's sweet.
nice.
I'm gonna let everybody tell their story on how they got into the band too,
Yeah,
since you know we've been.
Yeah.
Through. I remember last year you guys announced that a member left too, and I was like, oh
Yeah, it was Woody.
Woody, right.
We still see Woody.
Shout out
and-
Charles Woody.
Yeah,
Woody,
Shout out Arnett.
he is the kindest soul, and his whole thing was like playing fest too.
Yeah.
So like that was
Aw.
like a really beautiful moment with everyone saying we're proud of you. Anyways, so yeah.
Yeah, don't make me cry.
Yeah, I'm Woody's replacement actually. I joined about a year ago. I moved to Florida from Texas, and I met Tyler at a Second Impact show. Tyler's other band. My roommate is the vocalist of that band, and then like I guess Tyler was really desperate and messaged me like a week later. I was like, "Hey, you want to be in Gilt?" And I was like,
Yeah,
Okay.
like, I was desperate, but
I was about to say.
so Second Impact's vocalist Judy walked me into their shared apartment and was like, my roommate might be a good fit for Second Impact, and which is just, it's a simple hardcore band.
Right.
And I looked at Cameron's pedal board because I just walked into Cameron's room without them being there, and I was like, this is really good pedal board. This person is clearly too intelligent for a hardcore band. Let me put them in Gilt. And I was right.
I feel like you're like a scouting agent.
I literally am. You go on tour and it's like you realize that basically like every town has one person who has the trifecta of like talent, like a willingness to participate, and also like the gear to do it or the ability to do it.
Right.
So it's like you just collect those people, which is how I got Allie too.
Allie, let me know your.
I don't really remember exactly how I wiggled my way into this project here. I remember like I don't know, I've been friends kind of with the band generally because like I've played shows with them in other bands, so I've like known of Gilt for like a very long time and been kind of associates with everybody for like a really long time. And I think y'all just had me come in and like revise the drums on A Long Time Coming.
Yeah.
And yeah, I did that, and I think that was like the original intention was it was like, hey, come track this with us, and I just kind of ended up doing the album after that too, and I've been here ever since. Kind of, I think it's been 3 years now.
I think so. Yeah.
She doesn't realize I was plotting and scheming the whole time.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, to her, it's like there's no before and after. It's just like
Yeah,
I just
it
kind
was-
of ended up here.
They just asked me to come in for the song. Like, Allie's been in my mental Rolodex since we met in like 2014.
Oh my God.
My folk punk band was playing a barn show that you were attending.
Yeah, that was yeah.
Yeah, I was wearing some oversized like Christmas stockings, and I slipped and busted my ass while I was trying to look cool in a folk punk band of all things. But I remembered meeting Allie, and then Allie is every drummer in Florida's favorite drummer.
Okay.
And like you realize that the more you like talk to people, and Allie is too humble to like admit this.
Right.
So it's drummers are like, there's like 7 guitar players in every town. There's like 1 drummer in every state.
Right.
So you have to remember the one drummer and
Yes.
beg that you can be their 9th band.
Right.
Which is cool because I get to kind of pick, what bands I want to be in to some extent, just because like what I'm doing is in short supply kind of. So
Right.
I've been able to transition between a lot of projects.
I'm in a band. I don't remember which band it was exactly, but their core members were the bassist and the drummer, and I was like, you guys are never breaking up.
No,
Like, this is it. Like, you
Yeah.
got a new guitarist?
yeah, they're in
There's
there.
a line.
A real bass player, that's like gold.
Yeah.
There's like one of those in every region of the continent, and we got it. Like,
Yeah.
we got Peterson.
Tyler, how did you do?
Yeah. I have been playing bass for a long time, but my first band like never played shows because we were like, we can get better. So we got like really good, and then that band broke up, and I don't talk to the guitarist anymore. So then
What did he do? Or they do?
that's deep Tyler Peterson.
Class.
I don't know if I can go into that.
Fine, that's fine.
That's some Jacksonville business.
But then I was like, well, I guess this is my time because that was like around graduation, and like acting is like my like real like passion.
Okay.
So I was like on the verge to moving to California, but I was like, you know what, I'll wait. I'll go down to Jacksonville and join a band, and if it does anything, well, I guess that's my sign to stay. So then I joined a band, and that band sucked. But
it was Gilt.
So this is where I tell you guys I'm leaving the band. Bye.
But like a year into that band, I got kind of like well known because, most people who play bass are the worst guitarists.
Right.
Like I was like an actual bassist. And then I met Tyler after seeing Gilt like twice. It was like, oh, this band's sick as fuck. And then Tyler and I and Asha were talking at Island Tropics, our Jamaican restaurant that hosts shows, which is really cool. And it came up that I played bass, and Tyler was like, oh, you play bass. And then they did their whole like plotting, scheming thing, and now I'm in the band.
That's scouting.
I love it. You said Jamaican restaurant, and I'm like hurt over the fact that like down south, I don't feel like I have like a really solid Jamaican restaurant.
Oh, Island
Yeah,
Tropics.
If you're ever in Jacksonville,
Yeah.
Island Tropics does hardcore shows and
put a lot
make a
of-
restaurant.
Yeah, you want to get crowd killed while eating some oxtail?
Oh
Yeah.
my god, it's oh
That's my dream. Don't you?
Yeah. Tyler Peterson can make that happen.
All right, guys. Wow, it's been a long journey of Gilt.
Yeah.
yeah.
What's next for the band? I mean,
I was just thinking about this. Last year, I think at Fest, we debuted Charcoal, right?
I think so.
So like
That was the first time. Oh,
you weren't playing, you were still in the band.
Deftones.
Yeah. So we've been working on a new record for a long time. We have you only see our like full length and after on Spotify because I pulled all the self-released EPs and splits and stuff that we did for the first 4 years off. It's still on Bandcamp, but like we've been self-producing content and really just doing it as an excuse to go on our giant tours and to, just exist as a band. And this is the first one where we're like, we're going to give ourselves infinite time to make a thing that is purposeful. We're going to do a correct release cycle with like, making sure it gets on playlisting and like doing advertising, like, whatever.
you sound so exhausted.
It's like, I grew up in St. Augustine where every musician is like, oh, I'm really good at guitar. I sit in my parents' garage and smoke weed every day, and I'm like a virtuoso, and talent is all that matters. And like, somebody's going to fall from the sky and give me a career. And I was always really judgmental of that. And I was like, no, you have to go out there and make it happen. Like, if you can't afford a PR team, you have to be your own PR team. And yet I still barely use my social media. And I catch myself falling into that where it's like, well, but my band is good. And I have to remind myself, like, that's not where we are anymore. Nobody's getting signed to Island Records anymore. You have to like create a TikTok account.
And well, this is also like we're working on getting into the studio in November for this album. And also the last time we put out Conceit, Smart Punk kind of saved us with that. And
they came in clutch.
They came in clutch, and because we had some other dealings with another label that just completely ghosted us, which was very unfortunate. But Smart Punk came and saved the day, and they were like, we will, put out Conceit for y'all and, do your merch. And so we've been with Smart Punk ever since then. And this is our first time really doing like a joint effort release with a label like Smart Punk. Cool. And Matt has been super nice and caring. I think we really lucked out with having someone on a label team that is like, I care about the people, not about, anything else. I care about y'all as people. So, shout out Matt.
No, I think things have changed a lot in all aspects, like not just for musicians. And being an influencer is a career nowadays, and it's like, if I want my career to be music, why do I have to, be two things at once? That social media is exhausting, and I really wish that it was a world that you could just put your music out there and people would see it, but you're always feeling like this algorithm is fighting against you and it doesn't show it to people, and it's rough out here.
It is.
I'll be honest, I don't know where I was going with this.
No, I mean, it is very rough. It's kind of like, you just wish sometimes, it's like, I wish I could just use social media as just like, I just want to just like, oh, here's a fun cat I saw the other day, or just not to really be like, I just love to look at cats on the internet, but I just want to have the not stressful part of worrying about who it's reaching. And
I've been living like that a little bit more, and it's funny because I found my old, because I deleted my old Instagrams, but I downloaded everything, and then when I'm looking through the posts, it's like, oh, I posted my coffee, or I used to do little nail art. I posted my nail art, and it was such a wholesome time. Yeah. And now it's like, how do I look in this picture? Should I put it through the West filter? Should I do this? Oh my God, only 40 people liked it. And then it's like, ugh.
I love going through a popular person's Insta, somebody who's up and coming popular.
I'll give you my app.
But the people who aren't calculated enough to delete their entire thing and only have 5 posts.
Yes.
People who leave the history. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, you see that they've developed this format that's super repetitive and concise because the internet must view you as just one kind of monolithic thing. And you go down and you see it's like, oh, you used to pick pictures from different angles, or you used to post a picture with your family every now and again. It's like you used to be a fully formed person, and then you reduced yourself to this
just one
thing.
legs, yeah.
But that's how you do it, and you can watch the numbers go up, and it's really interesting to look at if you ignore how sad it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very sad.
I've been on Instagram for a really long time, but in contrast to that kind of, the algorithm didn't used to be quite as brutal and unmerciful. I had almost no followers, and I was able to get 100, 200 interactions with posts, and now I have, I have over 1,000, and it's impossible to get 20.
Right.
Yeah.
And that 1,000 to 2,000 follower is impossible to get out of too.
Yeah.
It's been years for me, and I'm like, oh, whatever,
Yeah.
I think we need to bring back the Facebook albums with the 100 picture drop of whatever
the disposable cameras,
exactly,
too, or just even just your just little camera that you're just clicking everything, and there's just so many pictures of just the same scene. Yes.
Yeah. I think it's gotten toxic to a point where you just need to know how to balance it. Yes, I'm going to be effective because I'm trying to do something, but I need to step back and care about my mental health a little bit with it. But I'm happy to hear that a new album is coming, a new release. When you mentioned that you were just going to take the time to do it right, I thought a little bit about Pierce Seville's recent album, and I feel like they just really took their time with Jaws of Life. They said, we're inspired by this, we're gonna work, and you listen to that shit front to back, and it's a masterpiece.
First of all, I love Pierce Seville.
Me too.
And I also love Jaws of Life, and I also love it's the music industry is very much so if you're not releasing something every few months, then you're forgotten about or something. And I kind of looked to that situation that Pierce Seville was in for a very long time before they put out Misadventures. Everyone was like, when is Pierce Seville going to drop a new record? It's been years at this point.
And Misadventures was a flop to me.
I love Misadventures.
It was a flop to me.
That's fair. But they were like, we're going to take our time with this. And it wasn't classic Pierce Seville. I will say that. It was very...
And neither was Jaws of Life.
Yeah.
But
it wasn't, yeah.
It was just... well, Jaws of Life has gotten so much hate, and I'm like the biggest like, don't hate it, listen to it.
It's like that army soldier in front of like the child in the bed, and it's you defending Jaws of Life from the internet. Listen, I've seen a lot of people being like, yeah, this ain't it. I liked it, so
I absolutely loved it. But yeah, so you guys are taking your time to cook and bring out this album, and I can't wait to hear it.
very excited.
And tell me a little bit about everybody's seen an emo phase. It wasn't a phase. I get it.
Why you look at me and say that? There's no reason why I would be the one that is.
No, but you would.
Because you look exactly what I wanted to look like when I was 13.
Listen, I literally said yesterday, I was like, if my adult life is not doing the things that I wanted to do when I was in middle school, then I'm letting seventh grade me down. Like, I just got these furry leg warmers yesterday.
So cute.
And I've never had them. Thank you. I've never had them before, and I was like, I'm done. I didn't do anything else ever
makes
again.
a whole fit. No, and we do. I think part of doing things like that is healing that inner child. I wasn't allowed to do. I mean, the only piercing I was allowed to get was my belly piercing because my mom was like, "Oh, it looks classy." And the day I turned 14, she was like, "Let's go." I'm like, all right. You're like, okay.
I've never heard anyone describe that as classy.
Me either. But she was like, "This
What a
looks
cool
classy.
mom.
It looks right." But everything else was a no. And at this age, I'm too lazy to get a nose piercing.
Yeah.
Okay, like I don't
Same.
want to take care of it while it heals.
Right.
But it heals that inner child, like the little hair streaks or whatever, things that you couldn't do as a kid.
Yeah.
A lot of people that are, they go to religious schools and stuff, they face a different level that experience. But I
Yeah.
want to hear about everybody's individual experience, with this kind of music and style.
Yeah. You wanna?
Yeah, I was really like introverted and somewhat sheltered like as a kid. So like in my generation, in the school I went to in St. Augustine, there were no like alt kids besides like the 5 anime kids that I was never around because I was in like the advanced program where they kept us cloistered away from like the general population.
Oh, I was in that too. It was hell.
Yeah, so all of those kids were like not necessarily mean, but they were like boat shoes. We're out on my dad's yacht, and the Keys this weekend, and he's the captain of the football team and she's the cheerleader, and it's like literally just like a movie, and it's just like, oh, cool. I had this one kid who like ended up working for NASA, like lean over and tell me, because we both sat in the back of there, and he's like, if you didn't show up, nobody would notice. And I was like, just drawing my little pictures. But like at that time, they didn't make skinny jeans for boys.
Right.
So it's like I was wearing like my girlfriend's pants, and my parents were like, what are you doing? Because like my dad's a hairdresser and would let me kind of have swoopy bangs and stuff. But like also my parents weren't like fully into me like dressing any kind of way. And at that time I didn't really have any influences besides like what VH1 and MTV was telling me. So I was like emo on the inside, extremely normal looking on the outside.
Right.
And like you were saying, this is me dressing how I kind of thought I was when I was a teenager. But if you saw a picture of me, you'd be like, this is a normal ass kid.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I was part of they called it the gifted program in my area. And
Mine was Ace.
ACE, yeah.
Yeah.
Gifted kids, yeah.
I don't know what mine is called, but I had that.
Yeah. We were always with the same group of kids, and I remember it just got to the point where, I mean, not to be like, oh my God, I was the outcast, but I was the odd one out. I had really bad eczema throughout that time too, so it was all over my arms, and that shit's itchy, so I would itch it and it would bleed, and then people would be like, oh my God, she cut herself, because I wear like long sweaters and stuff. So I mean, think about it now, like, yeah, it was really sad, like to have that feeling. So I know, I can empathize with you, but I'm glad that you.
Yeah, I had art class.
Now-
that was
now
my
they make
thing. That's where I
good
would actually,
skinny jeans,
I would meet the anime kids in art class, and like our teacher hated the shit out of me, which is funny because I have like my bachelor's degree is in fine art, but my high school art teacher hated me because he thought I wasn't trying, and I was like, I just want to draw cartoons.
Right.
So he would let us play music as long as it was instrumental, and I had the string quartet tribute to Fall Out Boy. And so that's when all the anime kids were like, Tyler's emo? And now all of a sudden I had like some friends, and I was like, other people are emo? Yeah. And then
For me, it was making friends outside of school. At like they were a little bit older than me, but they were cool people.
I live in an old person neighborhood, so it was like you would never know human beings were even there. So
Right. I've never even heard of anybody growing up in St. Augustine at this point, to be honest. It's always I went to St. Augustine.
that's what it's like.
I appeared and I was in St. Augustine.
Right.
There's 12 people in that scene, and God bless them for trying this whole time. That's why Gilt goes on tours all the time. So I was like, I can't die here. Anyhow, there's somebody else.
So that's actually very funny that you said like I had to make friends like outside of school. Like I had my friends in school. Like I thought it was interesting that Tyler was like their school was like very like, oh, you had the jocks basically that are like, you know, they're not like the mean people, but like they have their clique and there's the hierarchy in school and all that stuff. But my school, for some reason, it was like if you were in the marching band, like that was the hierarchy of the school. Yeah, that was like, yeah, it was like those were all the school kids. At least in my circles, you know.
People would go to the football games to see the marching band.
Yes.
They didn't care about that football
They
team.
did not. I was like, and then maybe I never even really interacted with a lot of the sports teams at our school, but it was like if you were in the arts section, like that was what our school was like, the hierarchy system. But
Marching band, chorus, orchestra.
yep, and I was in orchestra. So what'd you play?
Viola.
I was a cellist. So
That was
That's why
probably
my
cooler.
school had the state champ football team, because we actually focused on something.
Yeah.
You had the state champ theater kids, did you?
Well, I also did theater at the school, and that's where I also met one of my like dearest friends, Julia, who is in similar kind. We started a high school band together, and because they were wearing a My Chemical Romance shirt one day, and I think I was wearing a Slipknot shirt, and we were the only two at like in theater wearing like those shirts. There's literally a picture of this.
Dude, I've been there. It's like the Spider-Man.
Yeah, we're both just like, and then so we were just like, so you like alternative music, and so we quickly became friends. And I also made friends outside of school through the internet. I would run fan pages for bands, and I was running a fan page for a certain band who shall not be named.
Was it Blood on the Dance Floor?
No, God. If it was one on the dance floor, I may not be here today. I remember as a kid being like, that's the one band I feel like I should stay away from.
I wish I had your good judgment.
Well, I made some other not so good choices. This band.
Full body Ronnie Radke tattoo.
And so
I feel attacked right now.
feeling so attacked. I ran a fan page for this band, and I was actually going to go see them in concert, and I was meeting a lot of people who were like, I'm going to that same show that you're going to, and it was really cool that I ended up making like a group of friends through this show. It was a really bad show for me because it was a 16 plus show. I was 15. I thought I could be slick and was like, they'll still let me in anyways, right? And
16 plus show.
listen, it's
You
in
have
New
to
York.
be able to have consensual sex in order to.
Yeah, I have no idea. It was in New York. Well, it was like Santos Clubhouse or something. It was such a weird venue. The guy was a weird venue owner. I tried to get in. He wouldn't let me in. And the people I met that were going to that show, like we ended up like becoming friends. And they felt really bad for me at the time because I got locked out of the show that whole night with a bunch of other kids who were also doing the same thing I was. But I was the only one let in at the very end of the night. Like when that band went on that I was going to go see, the security guard felt bad for me. And all the other parents are being like Karens, like, we're going to call the police on you. And he looked at my mom. My mom was just chilling with like some fries, like, hey, come in if you want, I don't care. And so he let me in, and I made friends with those very special people. And we all went to like it was like, that was in 2015. And like every year after that, we were just like just going to concerts.
Right.
And I was in Connecticut. And so it was like, I would go to New York or Jersey or Pennsylvania to a show. And my favorite band was Motion White growing up. And I definitely like bonded with them over that. It was difficult, you know, having that life outside of school because I felt like Hannah Montana. It's like I'm going to all these concerts and hanging out with these really cool people. And, you know, then I come back to school and I'm, you know, even though I'm a part of the arts programs, I was still like at the bottom tier of like the social ladder or whatever. People were like nice to me, but
Yeah,
It was-
it's never like the movies where they're like
Yeah.
outright gonna, I don't know, throw you in a locker.
Yeah,
But
or like push you down the stairs, which is like
Yeah.
cool that they didn't. But also, I knew that I wasn't like, I knew that I was kind of like the butt of some jokes, like the way I
You were
looked.
like a real one though. Like you were not just wearing like a band T-shirt. Didn't you used to wear like the cloak?
Yes, I used to.
Yeah.
God.
Asha was like a real emo kid.
Yeah.
Like when you were like Hannah Montana, I was like, yeah, if it was just the celebrity part.
Yeah.
It's because you were always on.
Yeah, I
Which I
was
think is brave
always
in high school.
It was very brave because I also did have some people who saw me in the hallways would like hiss at me because they thought that I was like, I don't know why they would hiss at me and in turn think that I was gonna hiss back. I don't know what that was all
You
about.
should've.
I should have. I remember just walking down the hallway, but I was like, okay. But it was definitely very like isolating, especially with, and I like, I love my mom and I lived with her all the time, but she was trying to understand what I was doing. She was trying her best. She would take me to shows too. But there was a lot of people around who, since I am Black, they were like, you're trying to be white. Like you're not being true to yourself. And, they'd be like, you have like a lot of white friends and, you're losing yourself and you're not you're being something that you're not. And I was like, it was just very demoralizing in that part because there were no other Black kids that were also alternative around me.
yeah,
So I just felt super isolated with that. That was the part that really like, I was like, am I, trying to be white? I was like, I grew up in Connecticut. There was like no one else like that around me. And, finally getting out of that and now being here in Florida and getting out of school and out of that environment, I was like, oh, there's so many people like me. And it's really cool that, especially nowadays, there's things like Punk Black and communities like that really show that like it's not trying to be anything. It's just you are who you are, and I don't know. It's just very cool to see that nowadays. So
I mean, your identity is you.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody is trying to be anything, and I think we do face that identity crisis a little bit, especially like on a more superficial level. I deal a lot with the Latin world.
Yeah.
And then sometimes when I'm like, oh yeah, but I like rock, I feel like a little poserish. Like, I'm out here at this like, I don't know, reggaeton event in Wynwood. It's like, yeah, I love rock. You see a guy with like a t-shirt of a band that you're like, oh, that's awesome. And they just kind of like, okay.
yeah, and you're just like, no, but
My biggest fail moment, I had to interview this guy the other day and he had a Korn t-shirt on. And I was like, oh, that's a sick shirt. I said franela in Spanish, and my dialect of Spanish, when you say franela, it's t-shirt, basically. And he was like, I have a what? And I was like, the shirt. And he was like, oh, because in my country, franela is something to clean your car with. And I'm like, oh, sick shirt still though. It's Korn. And then he just completely dismissed it. He's like, yeah, I really like oversized t-shirts. And I'm like,
what's on the shirt? The thing on the shirt. That's what we're talking about. Not this.
it was a very awkward interaction at this point.
But you're like, the compliment still stands. I like Korn.
Right.
That shirt I like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was the Follow the Leader shirt, and so it was very cool. But
Yeah.
anyways,
Oh
whatever.
my god, that album cover is so nice. It's such good album art.
Yeah, the art,
Yeah.
it was great. But yeah, you do feel a little poserish at times, and I'm sorry that you had to go through this isolating experience. But at least now, with this band, with being the front person to it, you're, some little girl out there is looking at you, or some little boy is looking at you and saying, no, there's people like me, front and center stage.
Yep.
Liking what they like.
That is like the number one thing that like whenever I'm like losing it or like feeling like I'm like having to work on the music and just being in a band, sometimes you get like in that, oh, I'm so stressed by everything. Thinking about that being the number one thing for me is like, I've had some people come up and say that, and it makes it all worth it. It makes everything worth it. So that is and now I'm still here, still almost rocking a cloak. I switched to a Care Bear backpack. So, we're still here.
It's funny how the Care Bear branding just like sticks with you too. Because when I'm at TJ Maxx and I see like a Care Bear bug, I'm like, the girl from Gilt.
Listen,
Multiple people have said this.
I love
like
this.
you need to get sponsored at this point.
So I'm sorry, that's just real. We can come back to that later if you want. I want to have everyone else to do their.
You seen an emo phase, Cameron?
Yes.
We like circle back to me.
Cameron's like, shit, what is emo? Google.
Cameron said, "My Chemical Romance is not post-hard emotional."
I thought the
Yeah, really.
90s screamo scene.
Yeah.
Oh, me now? Okay, yeah.
Well, he just did a skip.
So I was born in Cleveland and I lived there till I was like 8 or 9. And while I was up there, I went to Catholic school. And that was awful. And so I am the way I am now. Just experiencing that was like crazy because that was none of like who I was. And then we moved down to Florida and I could feel like something was different because I went to public school then as well. And public school's crazy. It's like Fortnite in real life. It's insane.
No, Fortnite's fun.
It's like Fortnite in real life. It's crazy.
And then when I was like I think in 5th grade is when I found Fall Out Boy. That was like my gateway emo band. And that changed me. But I didn't realize like how much it really did. So then I remember I wanted to get a Fall Out Boy like zip up hoodie. Once middle school hit, like 6th grade, I wore that like every day.
We all had that one fucking sweater.
Well, yes.
And it wasn't even like a black or band sweater. Mine was a yellow sweater for some odd reason. Ugliest yellow fucking
But you
sweater.
were like, I'm wearing it every day.
I would wear it every day. It was ridiculous. We won't catch me dead in yellow now.
No, for reals.
But Fall Out Boy is one of those typical like gateway Fall Out Boy, Paramore, Panic at the Disco.
Insane, because like I credit them with like everything that I am into like now. So then I was in Gifted and it kind of alienated me. And everybody who was in Gifted, they were like obviously kind of weirdos, but they were still like normies because the Gifted
they were
kids
normies.
in Yulee were like popular.
Yeah.
It's really weird. But then I had gym class, and that's when I met like all of my like emo friends, because it's like all the kids who like played all the sports and stuff. They would go do that, but then I hung out with like the 10 emo kids in the whole school. And we would like talk about like Fall Out Boy, which is how I like got introduced to them, and then they showed me like Sleeping with Sirens and like Hawthorne Heights. So then I got really like sceney, like mall emo-y, and like that's why I'm wearing my
Oh, yep.
studded white belt.
The studded white belt.
And then I forgot who it was, but there was one day we were, walking around the track having a conversation, and this kid, I can't remember his name, dude, but he was wearing a Jane Doe t-shirt. And I remember seeing that and being like, what is that? And he goes, oh, this is, Jane Doe by Converge. So then I went home and I looked up Converge, and
Like the third eye, like
no, that's a Jane Doe, like concubine coming in. Hearing that, I was like, I didn't know you could do that. Like the things that they were doing with their instruments and like vocally, I was like, I didn't know this was possible. And it like sucked me in. And that's how Converge led me to like Jerome String and like the Sawtooth Crane and like all of like the screamo-y, like mathcore-y like things, because that's my thing.
Right.
Yeah, I love like mathcore and like screamo. So getting introduced to that at home and sucking all of that in, and then going to school and being like super sceney, like Molly Moe, like it was such a crazy thing. And that's just kind of who I am now. Like, like if you ever see me like play live, like I try to go as crazy as possible because I've seen so many live sets of The Cherry.
Right.
And
this kid wants to be in the Chariot so bad.
it is so bad.
We're also scared of him when we play. People used to be scared of me on stage, and it's like he has eclipsed the hell out of me.
Yeah.
He's gonna take the next video and just like use it as an audition tape.
No, literally, yeah. It's literally now,
Bye, guys.
like, they're just like fighting, like which Tyler do you want to be next to? And either one is a bad choice, but
But yeah, and that like really influenced my like first band that I told you about. Like we were like a math sword band that had a lot of weird like funk parts and like jazz parts, and just doing that. And so then that also goes into like me being black, my dad being black. I didn't go to my first show until I was 20, and that was
wow.
Cannibal Corpse. Yeah. It's not like I didn't know that shows were going on when I was like, in middle school or like high school. But me being like, oh, I want to go to X show, and my dad looking me dead in my face and being like, that's not music for us. And dad just like, like, oh wow.
Damn. Yeah. That's rough.
Yeah.
No.
So-
I got lucky. My mom kind of just like wasn't like paying attention to that time of my life, I think. And I had that one friend that could drive. And this was before Instagram and everything, but she would get the flyer. I don't know where she would get the flyer. She was more connected with the talent farm. We had the talent farm down south.
This talent.
It was beautiful. And we would just go to shows there. And I remember I was trying to make friends, but I was super intimidated by everybody. So I remember these bands. I still have the Baseborn EP somewhere. Baseborn was a fucking time. But that sucks. that just, I can't imagine like my mom looking at me and say, that's not for us,
It was definitely rough, but I'm also super thankful to like have like gone to see my first show at like Clooney, because that like got me addicted. And then the second show I ever went to was the Callous Boys, and it's great. That's when I got like super invested in my like local scene and started doing all that. And I'm here now. It's like,
Was that the show Gilt played with that?
no, it was Blind Tiger. It was Blind Tiger, Greyhaven, Callous Boys, and Limbs.
Oh, I remember that
Yeah, I remember that
bill.
bill.
I
Yeah.
remember.
And then my
You
third
have good
show,
memory.
the Kimbo EP release.
My first hardcore band. That's crazy. That's so
It's
crazy.
like crowd kill.
I don't like that. I have many people's like first shows. Many people have told me this now. I don't like that. I'm still a teenager.
So you're very stressed, Ellie?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm a little bit older. I'm 35. So like when I was growing up, like if you took a shower and you were a dude, you were like metrosexual. So, like, it was like real harsh back then. Like, the school I went to, it was like, it was drugs and people were fighting. There was a lot of violence. And, I was one of
Did you go to Piper?
the Piper. God. No, I grew up in Vero Beach, and Vero Beach High School at that time period was not exactly like, it wasn't like as unsafe as some of the other schools, but it was like, people would meet in the hallway and beat each other up to solve their problems. It was a thing. We would gather in a circle so the teachers couldn't see. And, we had spots we did drugs, we had things in the school we vandalized, whatever. But, it was a time period where like kind of hyper masculinity was like really, really like a social enforcement amongst everybody kind of on the premises. And like, I was one of two people, my friend Kyle at the time, I was the first two people at my school to wear skinny jeans. And at the time, that was a profound thing to people. Like, people were always like, oh, how do you fit your blank in there? You know what I mean? Like, everybody always had some weird, like, I'm too big to wear those.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They had some sort of, like, I'm better than you sort of statement about you wearing that kind of stuff. So, like, throughout the process of, and in the same way as everybody else, throughout the process of kind of self-actualizing, you run into those kinds of barriers where you keep, they keep trying to kind of beat you back into the closet as time goes by. And, like, I would say that, like, this being in this band and being friends with these people, I'm able to be the most openly myself that I can with like anybody, anywhere, because like, I as a queer person in general, it's especially in this climate now, it's hard to find people that make you feel safe and that you can, you have to choose how much of yourself you expose to people for your safety. And like, kind of, I don't know, growing up like that, I was very repressed. And like, once I finally hit like 25, I was like, okay, if I don't care, if somebody decides they want to kill me or beat me up for this, I'm just doing what I'm going to do anyways. And like throughout that slow process of like self-actualizing, of course I met people that, supported me and really like facilitated me being myself. And, ironically, in comparison to everybody else, I looked emo, but I didn't listen to emo music.
Oh.
So, like, because I grew up listening to, like, Led Zeppelin and Rush sort of stuff, and I grew up with old people, and that was, I was rewarded for being like, I like this kind of music. So, of course, that was, how I represented myself. But my friend Kyle at the time, he introduced me to From First to Last, like, Ride the Wings of Pestilence. And that was the first time I'd really heard like a screaming band. And I was immediately infatuated with the idea that sounds that ugly could be so like beautiful. And like, dude, since then I've been like obsessed with the concept of like nails on a chalkboard sounds that are just like, they feel good. They feel like there's an emotional depth to them that like, it hits me in a certain way. And like, I felt that at that time. And then like Panic at the Disco was like another one, Hawthorne Heights. I started learning some songs with him at the time. I was just learning how to play music and stuff. And that got me into actually kind of listening to emo music, but I mostly just, I had my hair dyed black and I looked like an emo kid. I was self-actualizing into femininity as much as I could at the time. But I really didn't listen to that much of that kind of music. You know, I got way into the heavy genres as opposed to the emo genres. You know, I immediately just was gravitated towards ugly sounding music. Sure.
From first to last, it causes a sort of emotional reaction. The songs that I love for them, like when I listen to them, there's just something about them that takes me back to a special place.
I was just listening to Heroin the other day, and as much as everybody hates that album, there's some absolute bangers on that album that just make my hair stand up.
Right. I don't want to gloss over what you said because I think it's something powerful, and I genuinely feel like crying. But so for you to hit, you know, your mid-20s and say, if somebody wants to beat me up or kill me or hurt me over this, then so be it. Like, nobody should ever have to feel like that in this world. And I know it's not my fault, but I am so sorry that you had to experience. No, 'cause that's like a visceral feeling. Like, oh my God, my life is in danger for who I am, you know?
Yeah, well, there comes a point where like the reward of being yourself and meeting people that support you for being yourself becomes greater than the fear of danger from people who don't support you. There comes a point where you have to like step over that line, and like some people, you know, can't because they're not in a position to, you know, but like I like I said, I got to a point where I was just like, I kind of don't care anymore. You know, I'm going to be happy even if it's only for a short time. You know, now I'm 35, so it's like, you know, to all the queer trans folks, like, hey, you can live to be 35, FYI. So like,
I still thought life ended at 30. I'm sorry.
I feel the exact same way. But like, you know, I've been in touring bands for the last like almost 17 years now, I guess, going on as a doing touring and playing shows and playing gigs and being in bands consistently since then. And you know, throughout that whole process, I've, you know, just actualized slowly.
Fuck, that's so sick.
Man, I feel like the process isn't done yet. I haven't even reached my final form, you know. So it's like, you know.
Still leveling up, like
More toms. That feels good because a lot of the people that were really shitty in school, they like peaked in high school. And I think after that, it had just been miserable.
Yeah.
And I'm the opposite, where I had a miserable time in my early life, and as my life has gone further and further, it has just gotten better and better.
Yeah.
So it's different than, you know, I'm glad I wasn't somebody who had a good time in high school, kind of, for that reason. You know, I don't miss my basketball jersey. You know, I'm not like, oh my God, I was so cool on that sports team. And like, it's like, no, I'm still just trying to do bigger and better things all the time.
I had a good time in high school because my high school had a radio station, but it's like I wasn't the cool kid. I didn't have. Yeah, no, we played all music. It was we played ska, punk, all that kind of stuff. I ran the hardcore show. I ran the pop punk show, metal show. Sorry, yeah, it was a lot of fun, and that's kind of where my career started, and also a place where I very felt at home. Like even the teacher was like, "That's my grandpa," you know. I didn't really have like a grandpa in my life, and that was somebody that I could look up to. But I see the girls who were popular and did peak, and now they're 26, 27 with like 2 kids. It's like I could never.
You know,
You do your queen,
that makes your life better, then yes, do that.
yeah, but it
But
still
they
like,
always-
seems like it's not making it better for that.
I don't know. That whole like 30s is the new 20s. That means my 20s are my teens, so I'm not trying to do all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Cameron, did you think of an answer?
I mean, I guess yeah, somewhat similar to Allie's, like in that, like I got into like emo and like C music in middle school, like through my sister. We used to watch like music videos on like Fuse together, so like that's how I learned about like Taking Back Sunday and My Chemical Romance, The Used, kind of those bands. And that kind of just led to me like wanting to learn how to play bass. Originally, I wanted to be a bassist, and then I just switched to guitar, but yeah, I mean, that kind of like, when I like adopted that kind of like emo scene fashion, I was like in 8th grade when I started learning bass. And then like that lasted for me maybe like 2 years. But I don't know, I still like always, the music taste stuck with me. So I don't know, I think like for like the longest time I was like kind of pretending to just be like a normal person until like, honestly, like recently, like I tried to be in a band in 2017. I was in like a hardcore band, and like that kind of fell apart, and I think I was like 20, 22. And so like after that, I was like, okay, well I gotta go to college now and just be like a normal person, get like an office job. And I did that for like 2 years, and I was just kind of like miserable. But eventually, like I met some people online, which led me to like move to Florida. And it was weird. Like I went to like a party for like my friend's birthday, like January 2023, I think. And like I just like felt something with the people there at that party. Like I just connected with them like right off the bat. and like I don't know, I have always had a hard time connecting with people. So, yeah, I just kind of like right after that, I was like, I'm just gonna move to Florida and see what happens. And then like I met everyone in Gilt, and like now I'm doing this, and it's awesome.
I love
Like,
when
I
people
feel-
come from outside of Florida to Florida, and they're like, "This is great." It's like,
Yeah, like they're wrong.
no, I will not take any Florida slander. I was one of those. I need to get the fuck out of here. And then now that I'm an adult and I can enjoy my city and areas as an adult, it's like this place rocks. Like,
Okay, I think Florida is a gorgeous place, and I think that it's got a cool scene history. It's had a lot of peaks and valleys.
Death metal.
Yeah, I mean, Florida used to churn out post-hardcore.
And the southern hardcore scene was insane.
Yeah,
for a lot of years.
The hardcore scene is doing great right now. Screamo's back, but Florida used to be like a swing state, and as I assume the population has aged, and also more people from like rich people from out of state have moved here, bought up all the real estate. They're not necessarily like the stereotype of like the dumb redneck conservative who's going to say something racist to you, but they're like, I'm rich and I'm going to do everything to hoard my money conservative.
yes.
And then that leads to more poor people who are conservative being like, I assume immigrants are the problem with everything. And it's like the environment of the people around me has gotten substantially worse since I was a child. And it's like, I wish I could have fun here. The woods are fun. The beach is fun. The scene is cool. I love these people. I love that I don't have to worry about dying driving off a mountain. It's just a straight line everywhere. And yet when I get there, I have to hear some asshole saying something shitty to like the barista.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just so much worse, especially since like DeSantis.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. It would.
I remember a while ago, my brother had told me that there was some guy at his job. He lives up here in Gainesville. Some guy at his job was saying some racist crap about immigrants. And my brother just kind of heard him out for a little bit. And he's like, you know, I wasn't born here, right? And this man did not flinch. You're one of the good ones. Didn't skip a beat.
There's like a
so many
there's like a visceral reaction where I'm just like I'm frozen in place. Like when you that's
Yeah. But I wanted to ask Cameron, what is that one music video that's just engraved into your brain? Because you started with the music videos.
Yeah, I think it was like Helena by My Chemical Romance. Like, that was like the first one.
All right.
I was like, this is so cool. I was
Yeah.
like, they look cool. They're throwing the instruments around. I want to do that.
For
I
me,
want to be
it's the Panic one with the fishbowl heads. Lying is the most fun.
Oh
that's
Those fun for you. And Misery Business.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Corey's Untouchables when it came out. I recorded that to cassette off of MTV. So that I could listen to it when I wanted and watch the video. I had a cassette player, and that was me. I had a
I feel
Sega
like
Genesis.
you still have it somewhere.
I wish.
Oh,
But no, I don't have any of my old technology. But yeah, growing up, that's how I listened to music. Was I recorded it off of MTV onto a cassette, like a cassette tape, like from VHS tape. And if I wanted to listen to it, I just pop it in.
That's sick.
no,
I
it's
turn my TV up real loud.
It's almost like when we wanted to record ringtones. And
Oh my god, I had Aaliyah's "Rock the Boat" as my ringtone on my little pink flip phone Nokia that I had. And when my dad heard that, he was like, I'm sorry. I was like 9 or 10. He was like, do you know that you take that off your phone? And I was like, but it's Aaliyah. And I had like the screenshot from the TV that I was like took on the other side of the phone. It was yeah.
it was a time.
It was
you
a
go back
time.
and listen to those things, and then "Grind on Me" by Pretty Ricky is just like I had no business.
I love that.
Oh my god, take me back to the skating rink.
All right, guys, this is your shameless plug moment. Go ahead and let that camera know everything they need to know about Gilt.
Yes, Gilt is therapy. Ask your provider if we are a network. In your network, oh my God. We have Instagram at GiltFL, TikTok at GiltFL, X or Twitter at GiltFL, please. It's Twitter, I know.
It still says Twitter.
Yeah. And we have a new album coming out
Sometime next year.
Next year sometime.
Yeah, if you want to talk to us, we have a cool Discord that some of us use. If you want to talk to us personally, I run the Twitter and Asha runs the Instagram. So if you like absolutely love one of us and hate the other one, you can find them. We also play a shit ton of online video games if you hate music but want to hang out with us because you think we look cool.
I love it. Guilt is therapy. Bold of me to assume I have healthcare. No, kidding, guys.
I don't have insurance either.
No, I do. I was just. I can't relate to you there. Sorry. No, guys, thank you so much for coming out. This was such a fun chat. I've been waiting for it to happen. And
this is so cool.
yeah, you guys make sure to check out Gilt, follow the Senior Citizen Podcast, subscribe, like, follow, comment, engage with all of our content, sign up for the Twitch, tell them you love them, and we'll see each other next week.
And that's Gilt without a U. G-I-L.
We'll write it somewhere around here.
Somewhere.
Guilt.
Logo.
Wait, it's backwards.
Logo.
Bye.